Welcome, my friends, to another edition of More Bad News, brought to you, as always, by Camel Cigarettes. Take the Camels Challenge, smoke Camels for 30 days, and see for yourself what a difference Camels can make in your life. People often ask me what the secret to my happiness is. Uh, well, actually, no one has ever asked me that, and I don't think anyone is really interested. Nevertheless, I've released a little video this week explaining why I'm happy. But if you want to know how to find happiness, well, that's simple. Just take the Camel's Challenge. So last week, the Biden administration officially ended the pandemic emergency measures that had been in place for the past 3 years. National Public Radio reported that this month, as many as 16 million American households have received sharp reductions in the size of their benefits from the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, known as SNAP, as a part of the federal wind down of the pandemic era assistance. On average, participants will receive about $82 less this month of SNAP benefits, according to the Food Research and Action Center, an advocacy group that works to end hunger. Some households will see reductions of $250 or more. Some are calling the decrease of benefits the hunger cliff. Recipients in 32 states and the District of Columbia will be affected by these changes. The New Yorker magazine reported that between the pre-pandemic period and the emergence of Omicron in late 2021, the child poverty rate fell by nearly half because of these special benefits. They went from around 10% to 5%, with especially large declines among Black and Hispanic children, owing in part to the tax credits made available through the American Rescue Plan. Nearly all low-income families used the extra money to cover basic expenses like food, clothing, rent, and utilities. When the tax credits expired at the end of 2021, families immediately felt the pinch. Another reversal is just beginning. During the pandemic, states received additional federal funds for the Medicaid program and were generally prohibited from disenrolling people once they became eligible. As a result, millions secured stable health coverage, and the country's overall uninsured rate fell by 8%. Republicans introduced the bill ending the emergency, and the Democrats fell in line and backed it. After all, it's only Blacks and Hispanics, the elderly, and the immune compromised who will suffer. Adventures among the humans. I had to go about last week. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, the Lila needed to get into the closet too. It's where she has her little bed. So last week I had to go out among the humans. It was stressful. These humans carry deadly viruses, and they don't really care who they spread them to. So one must be careful when going out among them. And you want to be nice, even though you're in a small room with a human who doesn't seem to care and doesn't do anything to protect you from his viruses. And he asked me, what would I do in a restaurant? And I said, I don't go to restaurants. And he says, ever in your whole life, you'll never go to restaurants? And I say, yes, I will never go to a restaurant again in my life. Things have changed. So when he asked if I have any concerns about my upcoming colonoscopy, I said, yes, I want to make sure that everyone in the room is masked if I'm going to be unmasked. And he looks a little concerned. Is that a problem? I ask. And he says, well, no one has worn a mask in a month now. So he takes a box of masks and he leaves and he goes back and he comes back and he says that I can wear my mask with the oxygen underneath it. In the procedure room, everyone wore a mask for the first time in a month. You can perhaps understand why I avoid contact with humans. As I screamed profanely 3 years ago in my infamous 14-minute introductory video to my students, in case you haven't noticed, your air is poisonous to breathe. So last week I mentioned going to the graduation ceremony at Ferris. My sorority students have always regarded me as family. If their parents came to campus, they always brought them to my office. They brought me gifts from their mother's kitchen and from their father's orchards. They carried my bag from the classroom to the car. They invited me to join them for the iftar prayer during Ramadan and at their mosque. And so last week, I went to the graduation of a boy who I considered family. Well, outside the venue, I took my mask off, but I was careful to stand away from the crowd. And despite my efforts to stay a safe distance from these humans, one of them ran right up to me, stepped up. I stepped back immediately, and he asked breathlessly, "How do you say congratulations in Hebrew?" And I said, "Mazel tov." And so he said, "Mazel tov." It's my kippah. It attracts people who love Jews. It happens every so often. Someone runs up to me to tell me that they love Jews in Israel too. I love some Christians and I love some Muslims too, but I keep my enthusiasms in check, which is why I don't run up to Muslims and tell them that I love them in Mecca too. Don't get me wrong, I prefer that kind of love to that kind of hate, but I don't love Christians or Muslims or Jews for that matter. I love individuals. It's all you can do these days. All of our theologies and ideologies have betrayed us. Well, my friends, it occurred to me this week that extinction is a direction. It's the direction that we're going in. Life expectancy has been rising steadily in the United States since 1900, when life expectancy was 47 to 68 in 1950. By 2019, it had risen to 79. Since then, life expectancy has been falling precipitously. It was 77 in 2020 and 76 in 2021. The same is happening to global population, which reached 1 billion in 1800 and 8 billion in 2020. It had been predicted to rise to 10 billion, but the population explosion has turned into a population collapse. Conservative demographers now predict global population will plummet, quote unquote, to 6 billion by the end of the century. The same trend is seen in human fertility. For the last 70 years, fertility rates have decreased worldwide, with a total of 50% decline from 5.3 children in 1963 to 2.4 children in 2019. Global fertility rates fell 42% between 2020 and 2021. How long do we have left? No one really knows, but our decline is not linear. The fertility rate fell by nearly half in 1 year. Life expectancy has fallen from 79 to 76 in 3 years. After the horrors of World War II, over 60 million people had been displaced. Those millions were largely resettled within a decade. Today, there are over 100 million refugees, and that number is climbing precipitously. Everywhere we look on this planet, we see distress. So, my friends, we may not have much time left to take the Camels Challenge. So do it today. Take the Camels Challenge, smoke camels for 30 days, and see for yourself what camels can do for you. In the meantime, I'll see you next week, and I hope that you have a good week.